Our next speaker is an extraordinary thought leader who comes with more than 27 years of experience in delivery management, enterprise portfolio management, program and PMO consulting. He's an ambassador of DevOps Institute and member of the ATO Working Group Asia for Excelos. He is the CEO of Excellentro Consulting Services LLP India and Excellentro Pte Limited Singapore. And not only that, he is the man behind the largest DevOps event in India, the DevOps India Summit. Yes, you guessed it right. He is the reason that we all are connected together over the next 2 days. Now, why should IT service providers adapt to the changes of Industrial Revolution 4.0? What steps should they incorporate to adapt to this ever changing technology? To answer that, let us now welcome with our happiest smiles the man himself, Dr. Niladri Choudhuri. Coming to your screens right now.
Good morning, everyone. This is Niladri Choudhuri, CEO of Excellentro and the Chief Organizer for the DevOps India Summit 2021, the largest DevOps and SRE summit from India. This year, the topic or the theme for the event is adapting to Industry 4.0 with DevSecOps, SRE, AI, ML, IoT, and data science. However, my topic is extending beyond Industry 4.0. The topic is adapting to Industry Infinity, new ways of working for IT services. And this is also the title of my book. This particular topic is chosen because we felt that Industry 4.0 is one thing, but there will be Industry 5.0, Industry 6.0, and so on and so forth. The basic idea is that there is going to be more and more industrial revolution, and there is more and more changes that are going to come. Now, to be able to adapt to these changes, we have to change. We have to have this metamorphosis. Now, most of the frameworks, most of the topics that we see people discussing are from the point of view of the outcome to be achieved by the customers. But what we don't see is that customers cannot do these all by themselves. Customers has to have somebody helping them out, and that is the system integrators or the IT system services providers. And this particular topic is from the point of view of the metamorphosis that the IT system service providers, what they need to go through. If you look at it, what we see today is that we are no longer going and looking at a product. Earlier, we used to use CDs, DVDs for listening to music with a CD player. That was a product. Those were products. We used to buy songs. But today, we are not buying songs. We are buying a musical experience, an entertainment experience. We hear from Ghana.com or Spotify or some other online app. So what we are looking at is a servitized product. That is the new way of the experience that is expected from the service providers. It is not about the deliverable anymore. And we have to expect more and more such changes which are going to come. With the current pandemic, things also have changed a little bit more. It is no longer an internationalization, but it is now moving towards globalization. So first of all, we need to look at localization. That means what is happening for a particular set of users in the geography, adapting to the needs of the specific geography. Then we move to internationalization. In internationalization, the servitized product can be used by customers across the globe, which also we have seen. But now we look at globalization. Globalization is not only localization and internationalization, but it's an activity that brings people, their culture, the economies of different countries closer together. Organizations need to better connect to the customers around the world. And globalization is not possible to be done unless localization and internationalization is done. This is important for us to understand because this is leading to a lot of change. There is one more factor which is coming up, which is the convergence of IT and non IT organizations. Today, you have cars. The cars runs on software. We have manufacturing, which is using a lot of IoT and other IT, without which they cannot improve, cannot bring in the kind of servitized products that customers are expecting. So to do that, we need a lot of international alliances which can bring us together and deliver what the customer is expecting. So if you look at it, we may even have to collaborate with our competitors. So in one place, we might be a competitor, in another geography, we might be a collaborator. This is true for the customers, and hence it is also true for the service providers. If you look at it, the service provider, there are three parties to it for the outcome to happen: the customer, then we have the service providers or the system integrators, and then now we have the cloud providers, because now a lot of things are moving towards cloud. And we need to take advantage of that cloud scenario. So that is where we are having these three different parties to come together and partner together. So we need to have change in the way of working, in the commercial model that we are using. We need to use platform as a service. We have to go beyond the silos of framework. Any specific framework, whatever the name is, we have to take the good of each, bring it together, look at it in a holistic manner, and deliver the outcome. Each of the frameworks are looking at only making improvement in their own area. But now we have to look at holistically to improve that overall aspect. And for that, we need to have the idea of the entire IT system, and we need to have the idea of the entire domain. So we need experienced people to deliver that. Security is becoming more and more important, and that's the reason why we need to have security as a primary aspect. And that's where maybe ideas like DevSecOps would be very, very crucial. Now, all of this requires to start refactoring our technical debts from the point of view of the architecture. Architecture from the point of view of software, architecture for the infrastructure, network, database. We have to make all of those loosely coupled, all of those to be in smaller pieces so that we can like plug and play very easily. It also helps in our security. So domain skills and the holistic approach is very important along with the technical skills. Understanding of the risk, compliance, security for each geography is important because now we are globalizing. We need to use partners who are more capable in that area as our valued partners. We have to have decentralization of decision making to be able to deliver faster. Technology is important, definitely, but not the most critical aspect. Resilience is the objective. However, we have to move towards anti-fragility. We have to take care of practicing chaos engineering to bring that anti-fragility. And all of this requires the support of the customers. Now, in this, we are going to talk about each of these areas individually into more depth. So, the first is about the internationalization to globalization. So, here the ownership of the outcome and not the deliverables, that is the change in mindset that we have to take. Customers have to demand for outcomes, not deliverables. And service providers, system integrators also have to have the skin in the game for delivering that outcome. And that has to be put in the agreement. Outcome based engagements will bring more business and profitability. If we keep on delivering deliverables, customer will not be liking it, will not be taking it. Because today, customers sees IT as a business enabler. It is no longer a cost center. If IT is not there, business also is not there. And pandemic has proved it many a times. We have to servitize the product. That is the key. Everything has to be as a service model. And customers gets to pay as you go. They don't have to have an upfront investment. Co-creation of value through experimentation, that is important because customers may not know what they want in the very beginning. It's a collaborative approach to find out what is possible to be done and what is the best for the customer. Steve Jobs had mentioned this long time back, and he also went on to say that if Henry Ford had asked his customers what they want in the new car, most probably they would have said faster horses. So we need to collaborate to find out what is the best for both and what is feasible. We have to choose that model which is most suitable for both. We need to holistically look at the entire value stream, not at independent areas to improve. Everyone in the value chain should be able to contribute and should be able to gain from it. Leadership needs to understand the expectations and they need to also change their expectation as well as understand what is now expected of them. They cannot continue to deliver the way that they were delivering earlier to their team members. They have to provide that support. They need to learn in more depth about the new ways of working. So the organization design needs to change. I'm not talking here about the organization structure, but the organization design. A security head, a CISO, should be reporting to the CEO and a dotted line to CIO. A CISO does not report to a GRC head or a legal head. We need to change our process of delivery. Continuous delivery is something which we have to do, and continuous delivery is about a rhythm, about a cadence. It is not just about having some tools, some CI/CD tools, some product vendor talking about different products. First of all, we have to loosely couple our architecture. We have to remove the dependence of our systems among one another. We have to start doing those. We need to have the capability to collaborate with our partners, including competitors, as I mentioned. We have to move to a product team, and the team will continue to do whatever needs to be done, starting from the creation of new features to maintaining them. It's an end-to-end responsibility as long as those systems remain in that organization. We want to remove the handoffs. We want to have everybody together collaborating to deliver the outcome. One shared objective to deliver faster, better quality product, and secure product. Visualization of work, agility, and removal of work in progress are important. Cost definitely is a concern, but focus on improving the flow and capacity. If that works fine, then automatically the cost will fall in place. We need to change our way of funding. We don't need to have large funds. We have to fund individual short outcomes. What is very critical is psychological safety. People should be able to come out with the problems, with the telling everybody that something has been broken, because that is a learning. It's not about whether somebody has broken something. If somebody can break something, then everybody else can break the same thing the same way. What can be done in the system so that nobody else can break it in the same way? Failure is new normal. We accept failure as an investment for the future. What is acceptable is failure. What is not acceptable is failing the same way, the second time. Then there is no learning. We need to learn that. We need to have that improvement. Better loosely coupled architecture, we have already talked about. And for this, we need to use a lot of latest technology. We keep hearing that we cannot move to the cloud, we cannot move to the latest technologies because we have to continue working with the mainframes. The question is, can you survive with your competitors, which are nimble, which are smaller startup organizations, by holding on to those legacy systems? If the organization itself does not survive, what is the need for survival of that legacy system? We need to be having the leaders needs to have the guts to take and embrace the new technology. And investment in innovation is important, because with internationalization to globalization requires innovation to satisfy the needs of various countries, people, users from various countries, that because of the difference in the culture, in the way of working, in the needs, in the regulations, everything. We need to look at product as the outcome, as we have talked about. So if we look at it, I use a banking product, software, as a corporate user, whereas many of you use that as a salary account. And some people uses it because that is the means of livelihood for their investments. Each of our requirements are different. Each of our journey with the system is different. So how can we have one single system provided to everybody? We need to look at that uniqueness. We have to move from mass production to customized mass production. We have to bring in the variability into the system, which the second generation of Toyota started. Toyota lean principle started. Much different from the mass production of the earlier Toyota production system. So every persona of the customers has different needs and needs to be catered to. So availability of the servitized product to customers must be anytime at any place and should be more suited towards the requirement. If I am going to Amazon and buying a specific type of products, I will get more deals on those products rather than the things that I never use. Process customizability to adapt to globalization is necessary. Value is a customer's perception. So we need to deliver value. And that happens not when we create software, not when we have created or maintaining some servers and databases and network. When all of these comes together and business is able to use it actually is when the value is created. So we have to look at that endpoint. And that holistic domain knowledge again is important for that. We talked about the customized mass production here. So from there, what we also need to do is if we have to do this customized mass production, we have to work with multiple geography. We have to work with multiple vendors and open source kind of scenarios. So we need to look at use of open source software, use of open source hardware, and open source network. Focus is on innovation in each of these areas. Open source software is used quite a lot. Some amount of open source hardware is also used. You may take some examples of products like a company like Wikispeed rather. But what is not yet mature enough is the open network. We need to get that moving. We need the different service providers to bring in that innovation, bring in that creation of a framework which allows everybody to be able to use an open network platform where we can easily move from one network to the other throughout the globe, like what we do with our mobile. Focus on innovation, contribute to the open projects and open network community. So individuals, organizations, leadership has to start thinking of providing that return to the community. Network security definitely will be a very important area of innovation, and more we use open network, more we use software defined networks. Transparency and trust will be key to all of this. We need to have appropriate metrics to be designed for that, and we need to design agreements and contracts to be able to come together and share not only in the product but also in the design, also in the framework, everything. So that new way of thinking in the legal aspect also needs to be looked at. We need to work with multiple partners, as we said. So we need to have value network partners, cooperatively working with various partners. So transparency and collaboration is critical for success. We need to have a different new model of engagement with these partners. Value sharing between the partners is important. Everybody can contribute. Everybody does not need to contribute only from technology. Somebody is bringing in design, somebody is bringing in customers, somebody is bringing in technology, somebody is bringing in the value in terms of administrative work. If there should be a common mechanism. I was hearing a session from a company called Sensorica. They have created that kind of an open platform where people can come together and work together for creating new products. As a provider, we have to understand what is it that we are bringing to our partners as value, not just what we are going to get from them as value. Decentralization of work has to be done. Horizontal governance framework is to be built to suit the requirement. Assessment of both the parties' strength and weakness must be done before engaging. We have to define training needs, experimentation, joint activities, and operating models needs to be defined. We need to get into that product team and platform teams with the value partners. And integration of the systems across the partners will be key. And the security aspect to that is important. And obviously, cloud and use of cloud native technologies will be becoming very important. We have talked about so much of different things. So obviously, security is definitely an important area. We need to start with the current state assessment of our security situation and then see how we have to move. Threat modeling becomes an important aspect. Leadership needs to understand that. And what is the security expectation? It's not just having a CISO, it's not just having a few members as the security experts and putting some security tools. It is about making sure everybody is responsible for security. DevSecOps practice needs to be implemented. So security needs to be baked in to every activity throughout the software development lifecycle into production. We need to do security chaos engineering. We need to practice everything as code. We need to specifically think of how to take care of supply chain vulnerabilities. And obviously, we need to implement SRE practices related to security to be much more helpful. So include the security steps in every step of the entire value stream. And all this, who is going to do it? Human beings. We have to start human beings to be treated as valuable assets, not as resources. We need to move away from human resource to human capital. Focus on their physical and mental health, personal values and belief, work ethics and education. And now, with the diversity of the globalization, we need to look at it much more. As Richard Branson said, that you need to make your employees smile, and then only they will make your customers smile. Clear strategic goals and objectives for human capital management has to be there. Psychological safety, we talked about it earlier, is very, very important. Even here, we need to use technology like AI, ML, data analytics to decide on how to improve on hiring, training, enablement, and development activities of human capital. We need to have a real human-centric approach. Human capital management also needs to use latest technology. They need to also experiment to find out innovative ways for engaging the human capital. There has to be a cadence to the entire value stream. Then only we will be delivering the outcome. We need to bring in that work, family, culture, environment creation, and promotion. Soft skills, domain knowledge needs to be prioritized over technology, and experience to be valued over cost. Human capital management needs to be the guardian of the psychological safety. Continuous improvement, experimentation, and learning is important because we are changing, we are innovating. Every day, new and new changes are coming, so we need to invest in that. We need to implement virtual dojos. We need to have collaborative learning with our customers, with our value partners. We need to get into hypothesis driven development with customers. We need to have experiential learning. Training and certification needs to be given focus. Obviously, following the DevOps principle, the third way is important. Metrics on learning and effectiveness to improve has to be there. Metrics on utilization of dojo and the outcome of the dojo has to be there. We have to accept failure as normal. Again, psychological safety comes into play. Experimentation will help in improving refactoring of technical debts. Upskilling and cross-skilling of human capital is required to make a self-organized, self-sufficient team. We talked about leadership, so we need to look at transformational leaders. We need leaders, not managers. We need to have strategic partnership with our value network partners and customers. So the leadership needs to understand that and be capable of doing it, not providing some deliverables. They need to also upskill. Learning, innovation, skill building has to be part of their regular routine. Leaders to create the climate of psychological safety. They have to focus on the flow and capacity, not on the cost, because IT is no longer a cost center. It is a business enabler. Without IT, business itself will stop. The competitors will outsmart us and will kill us. They need to have inspirational communication, intellectual stimulation, supportive leadership, personal recognition, and vision. That is what are the 5 dimensions of transformational leaders. And finally, we need to have environment consideration in innovation. We need to start looking at how we can make our environment better. We need to think in terms of having innovation that will help in making our environment sustainable. We need to reduce hardware emissions. We need to reduce software package emissions, reduce human capital related emissions. So working from home obviously is one good thing that came out of COVID-19 that has reduced emission, reduced pollution, reduced travel. So we need to reduce all these things and be able to still deliver. We need to reduction in the amount of data and distance it must travel over network through design. So design and build applications that are hardware efficient. That has to be a consideration. That has to be a factor that needs to be told and measured for every developer, for every person who is working in the infrastructure. Green coding practices, DNA storages, efficient querying of database so that we can have more outcome with less consumption of energy. Remote first strategy, platform as a service, energy efficient collaboration tools, all of these are useful. Latency should be as much higher as possible without affecting business, because that improves carbon footprints and emissions. Use of platform as a service, NoSQL databases, microservices, all these technology helps in innovation to make our world sustainable. The environment concerns related requirements should be part of the contract, even with our service providers and system integrators. And we have to move away from the legacy systems to new technology to take the help. So, with that, I will be completing my session today. Hope this has given you some new food for thought. You will be hearing two of my co authors later on during the day. You will hear about the leadership and human capital from Padma Satyamurthy, and you will be hearing from Archana Joshi about the open network platform. Thank you, everyone, for hearing me in this session.